Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Lodgify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Look
Good morning.
who's back. Good morning. What's
Happy
up?
Monday.
Oh, there we go.
Best day of the week.
Best day of the
I
week.
got to see Will 2 days in a row last week. That was pretty
Oh,
cool.
yeah. You guys were in Denver.
You're
Yeah,
welcome. I got to grace you with my presence. You're very honored and special. Just kidding.
Very, very honored. Very special.
No, it was fun. It was good to see you guys. How was the glamping show?
It was cool. My first time seeing all these different type of structures that people have built and creative people coming together. Very different than a hotel investment conference. A lot of flannel like Will's got on right now, but it was a good time. Just really good people doing some really cool projects.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah,
you, Brandy? How was your
glamping
weekend?
the glamping world seems so fun. Like the kind of the renegade cool kids of the industry at the moment. Yeah,
The
my
hipsters.
weekend's been great. The hipsters. My sister and her boyfriend are visiting. Unfortunately, it's rained all day, every day that they've been here. So no Miami beach time, but we've eaten really well and had a good time. So just kind of preparing for yet another storm.
Yeah. Well, I've been seeing a lot of crazy footage and stuff from I forget the name of Helene. Is it Helene?
Helene,
No,
yeah.
Helen.
Helene.
Hurricane Helene, and now another one. It's like, holy crap, back to back. So if you're being impacted by it, we're thinking about you. Obviously, if anyone has housing resources or any type of other stuff, we were happy to share and support the effort. Just FYI, wanted to put that out there. We talked about it this morning, so want to make sure our listeners knew we got you if we can help in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, hopefully you don't get hit, Brandy. You guys,
I think that we'll just get a lot of rain is probably what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So lots of leaks.
Yeah, I was gonna say sandbag it up. You're right for those
Mhm.
sandbags. Yikes. Well, we have some fun conversations and topics to hit today. Michael, I know you were pretty excited about this one. If you are a host or a property management company, you probably got an email on Friday, October 4th from Vrbo showcasing some new policies and changes. So, Michael, why don't you take us away?
Well, I mean, I'd defer to Brandy actually because it affects her and she's in it a good bit. But Vrbo's largely telling hosts that they need to be professional, which from a traveler standpoint, I kind of like. There's some nuances within the response time requirements and the new policies that could be a challenge for operators, but largely speaking, I think Vrbo is trying to continue to be the platform for professional stays and the expectation of more professional like stays. And it's interesting because Airbnb is pushing this co-host philosophy as they might start getting dinged more and more with lack of consistency. It's been a problem of their platform for a long time, but Vrbo, I guess, keeps pushing ahead and seeing how far they can push professional hosts. So one of the core updates is a 72-hour notification to the guests before arrival. I think that's the wrong one, Will.
That's like the different details of like how many days beforehand and the response times that are needed, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so you're supposed to require the guests with property access information, whether it's keyless entry codes, access to pick up the key, check-in instructions, any amenities that might not be available during that stay, et cetera, et cetera. And starting January 1st, if you don't have that to the guests 72 hours before check-in, that Vrbo can cancel the booking, in which case the partner initiated cancellation will apply, which means they will actually charge you for the stay, reverting back to a policy they did early this year. So it's going to be a can of worms. You know, if you're an Operto of the world, you're probably jumping for joy at something like this. This is going to force all those long-standing non-automated response platforms to push that way, or property managers. But there are some nuances. So Brandy, do you want to walk us through one of the core gripes that Brandy Rant has?
Yeah. And so first I have to say, I understand that there is obviously a need for this. Like there must have been enough complaints. And like you said, they're trying to push ahead of being the professional, hosting platform. So all that, being said, one of the requirements is that the guest gets all of their check-in information 3 days in advance. And to that, it's just, that might not be possible. So if, like, for example, a guest on Vrbo doesn't complete auto host, they're not getting those check-in instructions, or specifically the code to get in. They might get the address, but they're not going to get that final piece. And so we verify that they are, who they say they are and all of that. And so if we still have some people who don't read any of the reminders, any of that stuff. And so the day they're getting there, they're filling it out, or like, before they leave for their trip. So if someone hasn't filled that information out and isn't getting it, and they call Vrbo and they say like this happened and they cancel the stay, I just think that there's these other nuanced parts of it. And I mean, there's some, operators have specific rules. Like you only get this very sensitive information 24, 48 hours in advance. And that's to protect the property, the other guests, like, and that kind of thing. So curious as to why it's so strict about 72 hours. I definitely understand if there's like updates in the home, like the pool broke, or, the pool heater broke, or the hot tub's broken, or whatever. Yeah. Communicating that as fast as possible. But I definitely think there's some other situations that, again, just trying to see how they roll this out. Like if a guest calls and just like says this, are they going to charge you? Kind of how all of that is going to work.
Well, and what if the guest that's occupying it now is turning and the cleaner finds out that the hot tub is broken, right?
Yeah.
Things that are outside of your control, you don't know, you don't have a 72-hour window before.
Yeah, especially if guests don't give you the opportunity to address things during their stay. They just wait for you to discover it post checkout, or they say, hey, everything was great, but by the way, as we're leaving, here's a list of stuff that happened that we didn't tell you about while we were here for 5 days. So it's kind of like, all right, well.
I personally love the intention of this. I do think it opens some can of worms for operators to think through, and for Vrbo to think through. The more nuanced you get with regulations or rules to your marketplace, the harder it is to enforce. But I do, the intention of this is really good for the traveler, and really for the host, because you can automate. It's forcing you to automate and be more professional.
Yeah. And I definitely think, a lot of Vrbo's platform are these like bigger homes, like it is the bigger single family homes. And so it's maybe a different, turning, occupancy rate, all of that kind of stuff. So I can see where they're at. I also just think that when any platform, not just Vrbo, comes out with more rules that the hosts have to follow, especially if you're running your own management company, it's like somebody else telling you how to run your business. And I think that even if the policy makes sense, that people get a little, have their backs up about it, because it's like, you're telling me now I have to change my policies, all this. And it just kind of adds more to this tension sometimes between the OTAs and the property managers. So I don't think this is like all bad. I feel like anytime any OTA comes out with a policy like this, there's going to be some backlash.
Yeah, Brandy, to piggyback off of you, I totally agree. I think it gets close to pushing a line. I understand the professionalism piece, and we love Vrbo as a platform here on the show. We've always kind of given them a tip of the hat or kudos on how they've handled a lot of their stuff. But it does get a little close for me for like, all right, property managers have a lot to deal with within a day-to-day process of guests checking in, checking out, staying there, whatever it may be. So yes, these rules of 72-hour communications and getting them this information before a certain time and responding at a certain rate, that's all a sliver of their day to day that happens. And so to like think like, okay, yes, you're going to be very intentional on this piece, but yet they have 1,000 other things to deal with. So it just adding this change can impact how much of their rest of their day, the 98% of the chaos that happens outside of this platform or this one reservation. It does get a little close for me where another business is telling you how to operate and changing an operation flow that may or may not suit your business in the way that you guys actually do things to protect safety and privacy and other things like that with other guests, especially if you're in single family homes rather than multifamily buildings. But yeah, those are my thoughts as well. I agree with Brandy. It's a little too close for me.
Well, publicly traded companies don't just throw things out there and see what happens. Like there is data telling them that this is what guests want and this is what guests expect. And how it ends, how this policy gets massaged over the next 3 to 6 months before it goes live. Vrbo's absolutely fantastic at rolling out semi-controversial or big changes right before conferences. And then they're able to address those right before conferences. We've got VRMA next week. So, they're not hiding behind policy changes and waiting till after conferences. So their communications team does an excellent job. And, Tim has to stand on stage and answer it and defend it. So, but at the same time, then he can clear it up, explain why they're doing it, that maybe there's more nuances than we're thinking of or have read. But, again, it's not there. To me, they're a very different platform because there is that open dialogue versus other platforms. There's a lot less of that dialogue directly between professional managers and the platforms.
Well,
I would agree.
Tiffany. I was gonna say shout out to Tiffany Moss and the Expedia team for doing all the communications before VRMA. So Tim, we can have something to talk about.
Yeah, well, and announcing a change well in advance. So
Yes.
I will give them that credit as well. So it's not like, hey, on Monday, all this is changing. So we'll see. And you know what? It also could be one of those things where it's a policy that seems like it's going to be a bigger deal than it really is. And then it comes and goes. And you're only really noticing it if you're caught up in like a certain situation. So, but I think this
Just
kind
like
of.
I was gonna say just like their
Sorry?
cancellation policy, where the
Yeah.
cancellation one that they rolled out not too long ago, everyone freaked out, and then all of a sudden it's just like nothing. All right, we're
Yeah.
good.
But to Michael's point about this being part of a publicly traded company, there's other kind of things you have to answer to. And one of these things we are seeing is that short-term rentals are obviously continuing to grow in popularity. So there's a couple of these graphs that are in the Skift article talking about how there are, some headwinds for hotels. There's slight decreases in the popularity of hotels, and then modest increases in the popularity for short-term rentals, and that those are growing year over year. So I think that also leads to it is that the number of people that are experiencing our industry is growing, and most, if not all of those people are coming with hotel expectations. And this is something that we always kind of like, it's a tension point because we're not hotels. It is a different experience, but that's still the reality of the traveler that is now engaging more with the platforms. So if Expedia, who's, obviously an enormous hotel OTA, is seeing in their short-term rental brand that they are getting these complaints, that's probably where some of these policies come from. But I love to see gains for our industry. And I think the percentage for hotel drop was 60% of people would recommend or would for hotels, and now it's 58, so it's not like the sky is falling for hotels. But it just shows that people are, one of the things people prefer most about short-term rentals is the location. And so I think it's very, what type of trip are you taking? And now you have more options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it went from 60% usage to 56%, which a 4% decline doesn't sound like much, but it's a pretty substantial decline over the course of 2 years. So very good outlook for short-term rentals. But I mean, everything continues to blend more and more together. Just like this Vrbo policy is meant to make it feel more like a hotel stay, where you get your pre-arrival stuff from Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, whatever. So all of the signs are great. The number one reasons why travelers see great values in short-term rentals: location, they're more comfortable for longer term stays, it costs less than a hotel, and then the ability to cook your own food, do your own laundry, etc. So there's some great things built in here that hotels can't really compete with unless they kind of redesign it, like Apartments by Marriott. So I think the outlook is and always has been good for short-term rentals. It definitely feels like we're in a bit of a stalemate right now, but and it might be that way for another year or so. I do think that we'll break out of it, and it might come as a result of glamping style outdoor experiential neighborhoods that kind of look like hotels, but they feel more like vacation rentals. So we'll see.
Michael, to ride off of that, I want to ask you both a question in the sense of, do you guys think there's going to be, because I agree with you, I think this next year, maybe halfway through 2025, we'll see a little bit more of an uptick, but do you guys think there's going to be another vacation rental, short-term rental boom like we saw during COVID, or do we think that it's just going to be slowly but surely for the rest of the time being?
I don't think there's going to be another boom like during COVID. That's like a huge catalyst.
Maybe not as extreme, but a boom in some shape or form.
I think I think we're in it right now, but kind of like a reshaping of the industry that's happening at a pace that you'll only be able to really see when you reflect on it. But like, we're professionalizing as an industry. On one hand, you have people that are getting out of the industry because of the COVID boom. Like, it's not the rosy golden fields maybe that they thought it was going to be. And so you'll have some people coming in to fill up those gaps, especially as it becomes potentially cheaper to build, or you can get a better mortgage and all of that stuff. So I think I think it might kind of be a net zero for a little bit of people leaving and people entering. And I think that will also greatly depend on the location that you're in.
Yeah, you have to be dialed in right now to make money, whereas 5 years ago, everything was making money. And
exactly.
It's very similar to the old eBay marketplace, where anybody and their mother could just throw on their old Beanie Babies and make some money. But now 80% of transactions on eBay are done by professional companies. And so, I mean, it really looks like Vrbo and Airbnb are both shifting in that professional direction. So I think, to Brandy's point, there's not going to be a big boom, but chewing into hotels by 4% every 2 years is a substantial chunk, not to mention the supply growth, which I do think will slow down over time. Demand has been strong in short-term rentals. If we can just get supply to slow down, then we'll be in much better shape.
Yes, agree.
Well, according to Jamie last week, the week before, I might be off on my weeks, give or take. Didn't he say growth, like supply growth was down, but still up? It's down compared to what it was, but still up. So yeah, I hope you're right. We see that 8% growth go down to like 3, maybe 2. Be sick.
And you also just have, I think, to touch on something you mentioned briefly in the beginning, the Airbnb co-hosting kind of push. like there is a recognition. Airbnb is the platform that is for hosts, by hosts, blah, 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 blah. But even they're realizing that people are like, oh, this is hard. And you actually have to run this like a business. And it's not just you doing it individually. It is totally unrealistic that millions of people are going to run these businesses individually by themselves. It's just I think it's a like I've said it before, like it's a beatdown, this industry, and the margins are there, but they can be very slim depending on where you are and like what your business is looking like. So I agree with Michael. You have to be really dialed in now to be making money.
Not gonna lie, the more recreation rentals grows, the more I miss the days of individual hosting where it was just like me on my phone and not having to deal with all this other stuff. So because those margins were better. And as a management company, you look at how many middlemen are in between you and the guests, and you're like, son of a bitch.
Well, we've done the exercise of like a journey of $100 through the company, and you're just like, damn.
It goes quick.
It goes quick. And I think what's noticeable, and it's been throughout the year, is like if you're an operator, you're trying to find savings wherever you can, but everybody is tight on money, it seems. And so when you're going, there isn't like as much room for negotiation as there used to be, or you're finding a lot more resistance, and everybody is just there was just such like a feeling like of a bonanza for a couple of years, and now I think it's a little bit more reality is setting in for people across the board.
Yeah, definitely agree. All right, what's next on the docket? We want to get to
we have some Sonder news. Well, I didn't think, I mean, this was a brief article. I'm sure a lot of people saw that Sonder had to restate their financials, and there was a $80 million negative difference in their 2022 financials. Yeah. And then a positive difference, or positive recalculation of like $400,000 for 2023. So yeah, like I don't know, for me, like this information isn't like the part that stood out the most to me. It's how like their real reliance obviously on this new Marriott like partnership, or whatever form it's taking, to the extent that one of the comments they've made is that if this agreement, like when it runs out, if it terminates, whatever, like at the end of its life cycle, because they will be so integrated in the Marriott ecosystem that it will be very difficult to extricate themselves from that. And so I think we've speculated on here, I'm sure other people have, like that perhaps this is like the slow play acquisition, and that Sonder will just become the Apartments by Marriott or whatever, because they have a point. They're going to spend a lot of time, money, and like technical capital to integrate themselves into the system. And that leaves you very dependent.
Well, 20 years is also a long time. So a lot's going to change. And especially as they integrate into Marriott's ecosystem with the OTAs, it's not just going to be an impact on operations, but unwinding your listings and the commissions that you're paying at a discounted rate because you're with Marriott and not by yourself. Yeah, that's all going to have to be unwound if nothing goes through after the 20 years.
What an epic contract. You know, whoever
20 years though.
Whoever negotiated that for Marriott's, you know, they deserve multiple raises.
Yes.
But I mean, that just shows the leverage that Sonder didn't have going into those discussions. Standard would be kind of 7 to 10 within the space. So yeah, they signed the rest of a lot of people's working careers over, which is fine. I mean, there's definitely worse brands to be tied in with than the big bad Marriott. You know, they own the segment and they've got a fantastic reputation. So I don't think they lost anything in that negotiation except the ability to pivot if need be in 5, 10, 15, 18, 19 years.
Yeah. But the other option, if option one is this and the other option is slowly dying, like, or quickly dying, you know, it's kind of like, obviously this is the better call.
Yeah. But Michael, we all thought that maybe Sonder was going to become the exclusive operator for apartments, but we saw an article, or you sent an article in our group chat that showcased property in
Savannah, new
Savannah.
development
Yeah.
that did not go with Sonder. So it looks like Sonder is a preferred provider or an approved provider, not the sole operator of Apartments by Marriott. They're just an approved vendor. So I think they're going to be battling until their cash flows turn around publicly. They're going to be battling a lot of owners that want to use that brand, not let Sonder operate that brand until they're on more stable ground.
Yeah, that's their public struggles are obviously a huge hindrance to getting new like prestige buildings and things like that. You have like, why would you take a chance when you can like open up your, Robinhood account or whatever and see how they're doing?
Yeah.
So,
And also take out your Rolodex of other operators that are not struggling and actually growing and providing good guest experience. So,
now
kind of one of those things.
The alternative there on the 20-year thing, I just remembered it. It's been a few weeks or months since that came out, but there was a fairly substantial amount of key money that came with that. So that is of benefit to Sonder. So maybe that was the levers they're pulling. We need this amount of cash. And Marriott said, well, I need 20 years. So a little bit of a push-pull. The last topic for us is something we've talked about pretty much all year, and this goes more towards the professionalization of the space. Muse is a hotel PMS, new age, kind of all of the integrations, bells and whistles. I know they're trying to get more into short-term rentals, at least in the States. I haven't seen much traction there, but they announced last week a boatload of money, $100 million earmarked specifically for M&A. So, and then Richard, the CEO, is quoted in the article saying, we've got a few lined up. The market's ripe. So it'll be
time to go shopping.
It'll be an interesting, lots of money to go shopping. And, it's something for them, probably the last move before IPO. This probably helps them get their revenues to where they want them to get to go public. So well done, Muse, all the investors there. Hopefully you make some good purchases, but the professionalization and consolidation continues.
Yeah, proper management software that. Oh, go ahead, Brandy.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say they're a unicorn, so $1 billion valuation, hundreds of millions of dollars raised, already 7 companies acquired or more. The last time I talked to Richard on Slick Talk, it was about 7 companies that acquired already. So they're rolling pretty good. I'm excited to see more shopping sprees in the industry. It's always a nice thing to see.
Yeah. And if you are, there's so many PMSs out there. And like, sometimes I hear of one and I'm like, didn't know that existed. And so if you are, I don't know, it might be looking pretty nice if Muse comes to you with a bunch of cash. Like there at some point, you have to kind of face the reality of what the landscape looks like. And this might be, I think these opportunities to exit in like such a, financially beneficial way might be few and far between in the next couple of years. I mean, we've talked about how there's a lot of capital that's like ready to be deployed, but I don't know. It's a tough landscape out there. So happy shopping 100%. To Muse. Can't wait to see what you buy.
We can't wait to talk about your buying spree on the show. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I think a lot of their acquisitions, they've been both vertically integrated and horizontally integrated. So they're not just buying other PMSs, but they're buying bolt-ons to the platform.
Yeah, like complementary platforms.
Also, buying customers too. Some platforms have amazing properties, amazing brands, amazing flags under them. So not just the tech, but the actual clientele list. It's pretty good.
And remember, they launched their venture arm a couple years ago, and so now after a couple years, they might be able to purchase those. They probably have first right of refusals written into those investments, and they'll be able to recoup their money plus some for acquiring them at a reasonable price. It's a win-win for everybody.
100%.
So we'll see.
Well, there's we're right on the dot, 30 minutes, 29 minutes and 33 seconds. Let's wrap up. Any final thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, or exciting news that you guys are looking forward to this week?
Well, we have VRMA, which this is like really sneaking up. And so I think it'll be interesting to see kind of what the tea is coming out of that conference. There's always there's interesting nuggets that we pull from that. So if we have any listeners that are going to be in VRMA, we're going to have a coffee meetup in the mornings. And so we'll post that link in our show notes so you can come and hang out with Will and I before attending some sessions.
Of course, yes. October 15th, 8:15 in the morning. We're giving a 15-minute buffer for us to get the coffee made. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting meetup with Jonathan Wicks from Well and Good. And then, of course, Jamie Lane will be there. Saw some amazing registrations come through. So shout out to Rachel Alday from Abode Luxury Rentals who signed up, and a few others. We'll even have Leo from our European crew showing up. So get to have the full GMH experience on a beautiful.
Been replaced by a Brit, huh?
How does that feel?
Leo's my brother. We're two peas in the same pod, so
yeah.
There's no better person to fill in for me on the US version. So
yeah,
and then you're missing the most important part: the opportunity to try Well and Good morning coffee.
Exactly. I just was going to give another shout out this morning. Mark Hostovsky, founder of Minoan, sent me a picture this morning saying he was trying the coffee and loved it. He drank it black. Normally he needs like a latte or something to change the flavor. And he said it was great, just straight up. So
wow,
that was
high praise.
News. High praise. And he only drinks coffee on Sunday. So the fact that we got him to drink coffee on a Monday morning was a big win. But yeah, no, super excited about all of this. If you're going to VRMA, I'm sure you're also part of the topics and conversations around, the lack of attendance this year and other stuff. So it's going to be an interesting year. I'm excited to see how it turns out. Might be my last VRMA for a while, but we'll see. Probably.
So many people say that every year, but
unless Megan,
and we all end up going back.
Hey, unless the new board changes some stuff, I'm not going next year. Saving my money and saving my peace of mind for something else, or just saving the money. Who knows? Don't need to go every year. But that's just my thoughts and opinions. I'm kind of over the VRMA train. But anyways, without going into a Will rant, I hope you guys have a great week. And it's so good to see your beautiful faces on a Monday morning. You guys have any questions from the listeners, grab the link in the show notes for the meetup, for other things that we've covered in this episode. We'll try to link in the show notes. And like always, we'll see you guys again next week.
Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.